Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Kelly. This video is all going to be about my Miami Marathon race recap. I completed the Miami Marathon about a week and a half ago now, and I needed that week and a half for my mental sanity to kind of just decompress and not think about the race, and now I'm finally ready to come back on and talk to you guys about it. So that's what we're doing today. We're talking about pros and cons of it, my thoughts on it, how it went for me, did I feel prepared for training, all that good stuff. So let's jump on in. My training, going into the race, felt very prepared for the Miami Marathon. I followed a Higdon, I think that's how you say his name, intermediate or beginner? I'll link it down below. Marathon training plan, I followed that. I followed it pretty consistently. I think I only really missed like maybe 1 or 2 workouts the whole time. And I really stuck with the schedule that he recommended. So I was very confident going into my marathon. I was also very confident because my brothers previously had done this marathon, and one of them said it was really hard for him because he trained in Chicago where he was living, but the Miami Marathon was obviously in Miami. So that difference in temperature, because obviously it's going to be a lot colder in Chicago when you're training through the winter versus Florida, was hard for him to adjust to. So me, a Florida native, I don't know if you would call me native, but anyway, someone who's living in Florida, training for a marathon in Florida, I was like, I'm prepared for this, I'm ready for the temperature. I felt really confident going in. My 20-mile run was the longest run I did prior, and I felt great about that run. So week of the marathon, taper was doing great. I felt great, I felt confident, I wasn't sick. I was probably like in one of the best case scenarios going into this race. Let's talk about the race. Saturday, you get there, you saw I went to the expo, we picked up our shirts and our bibs, and I got put into a corral faster because I asked for that, so I was feeling confident about that. Race day morning, shout out to my friend Anna and Sophie. They were super nice, and they drove me and my friends to Miami and dropped us off as close as possible, so we did not have to worry about parking. If you ever do the Miami Marathon, or maybe a marathon in general, I highly recommend that, especially in a big city like that. It just eliminated the difficulty of trying to park our car and pay for parking. We just we hit a dead end and we got out and they took the cars. So me and my friends then walked to the race start. The race start was slammed. Absolutely slammed. Kind of expected that. I think there was 18 to 20,000 people running, so there was a lot of people there. Both the marathon and half marathon were lining up at the same time and starting at the same time, so very crowded off the front, but energy was high. They had music going, people waving flags. I guess you could say it was hype. I was still excited. I had excited nerves. I was ready to go, ready to run. And then this is where things took a turn. The turn happened pretty much before I even started running. They say that you're going to start running, that the pros start at 6, and then my corral was supposed to start at 6:15, and it didn't start until 6:30. So I definitely had a lot of time waiting around. I then started to sweat. It was hot. It was 73 degrees or 72 degrees and 90-something% humidity before it was even 7 in the morning. So I'm standing there waiting to start running my race, and I could already feel the stickiness of my body, and I was like, this is gonna be a long day because the sun isn't even up and I'm already sweating. I haven't even ran yet and I'm already sweating. The first 3 miles I did, it was still dark outside, it was hot. Definitely a very crowded course the whole half marathon, I will say. If you watch my last vlog, you can see how many people were the front half of the race there, and you're bobbing and weaving through them because they're half marathoners with you. But then when you split off to the marathon distance, you can see how empty the streets are when I was running the marathon, night and day compared to the half. but the half was good. That first half course is beautiful. It was very, very hot. You can see in that video, my face is so red, like an hour into the race. I was sweating, everybody else was sweating. Shirts were just, you could start to see the sweat stains through people's shirts, but it was a beautiful run. One of probably like my favorite half marathon courses I've ran, just because of, you know, the sun's rising, you're getting a view of cruise ships, you're getting a view of different beach areas, you're running through causeways, you're looking at yachts. Like, it was nice. The energy was high. Running over the causeway back into Miami before you branch off, that was hype. Like, there's confetti flying. I was feeling great. Like, if you're looking at my stats, I'm running like 9:30 miles. I was trying not to go off too fast, but I was feeling great at a 9:30 pace. And so I kind of went between like 9:30, 9:45 pace, and I felt great. Great. I felt great going into that half marathon. I felt great mile 14, and then mile 15 hit. Guys, miles 15 to 17 were horrible. Absolutely horrible. And I knew this. So I don't think that was necessarily like my worst part of the race. It's hard to say. My brothers warned me that miles 15 and 17 would be bad. What it is you go, it's basically like an out and back type of a run, and it's on a bridge causeway. So there's no homes though. Like, it's a 4-lane road. There's no shade. At that point, there was no clouds in the sky. There was no breeze. And to make matters even worse, on one side of the road, the cars were not moving. So when you're running out, the cars were bumper to bumper, and all their exhaust was basically like getting onto you because they weren't moving off of that causeway because the police wouldn't let them leave. So the aid stations, there was 2 aid stations at that part. They were also very, very like, the aid stations themselves were close together, but they were far from like the aid stations off of the causeway. So it's hot, it's sunny, it's humid, there's no shade, there was no breeze, and there's extra humidity or like heat from the cars. That was a really bad part of the race, but I knew if I got through, like, I just kept saying to myself, like, they get through this part, then like the rest of it's gonna be great. Like, you just need to get through this part. Well, I was wrong. Mile 17 to 20, or like ish, is like the longest straightaway, and you're just running down this street at a little bit of an incline, and you're seeing people on the other side run back towards downtown Miami to finish their marathon, while you're just like, where is the spot that I'm gonna turn around? You just keep running, and you keep running, and you keep running, and I was really pushing hard. Like, at this point in the race, I was like, things were hurting. My like morale was low. I was like so hot, but I was trying to keep drinking at every aid station. I kept trying to eat goose, but like my stomach started to hurt, but like it was just so hot. Then mile 20 hit. And let's just say my soul got crushed. I wanted to cry. I couldn't cry because I had no tears because I was so dehydrated. I couldn't use my phone to change my music because all of my clothes were so wet at that point. Like, it felt like I just like walked out of like a shower and all of my clothes were wet. My hands were pruny. Like, I couldn't wipe my sweat off to use my phone screen. Morale was low, trying to like keep running. I got beat. Like, I absolutely got beat. Mile 20 to 26, like, I pushed so hard, and my stats, you know, dropped significantly. I mean, I was running like 10-minute miles. I was just not having fun at all. This one point, this lady was like, it's just a 5K when I had 3 miles left, and I was thinking like, okay, Kelly, it's just 1 lap around the lake. And I was like, oh my gosh, in my mind right now, 1 lap around the lake is literally the longest run of my life. It was just absolutely horrible. I did have to like walk a bit. Like, I think at like mile like 21, I stopped, walked like 10 steps and said, okay, 10 steps, you're getting up and you're running. I think that happened like probably from every mile from like, yeah, from 20 to 26 as I'm looking at my stats. Like, there was a period where I walked like at least one spot at every time. I don't know though. I don't know if I walked a total of 6 times during the race. I think it was only 3 or 4. But anyways, I started slowing down. I was just, okay, if you're running 10-15 pace, that's better than walking. Keep the 10-15 pace up. I mean, my stats were going from like a 9:30 the beginning of the race where I was hitting 10:30, 10:30, 10:20, 11, 10:17. Like, I was just absolutely beat. And I think the hardest thing from that perspective is during the race, I was actually more mad at myself because I thought it was something like during that last half marathon that I did, because I've never ran a marathon before. So this was a totally new experience to me. And so I was just angry because I was like, what did I do wrong? Like, how did I not prepare for this? Like, why wasn't I in shape? Like, did I do something wrong with my fueling or my hydration? And then I talked to my friend afterwards who also did the marathon. She tried to qualify for Boston and that didn't happen. But she also had a horrible run. And she was like, no, Kelly, like, everybody had a horrible run. Like, everybody got obliterated, like, that last half marathon because of the heat. I find out later that it was 91 degrees from like mile 15 to 26 with still 95% humidity. And I had like no shade. And I was so dehydrated. And so when I realized that everybody sucked because of like the heat just killed so many people, I was like, oh my gosh, I am more angry now that like I feel like I got gypped from my marathon experience because I didn't even I just got murdered by the heat out there. I'm very proud of this race and I'm proud that I completed my first marathon. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like it wasn't a fair opportunity for me to test like all of my training because all of my training was being done, like most of it under 70 degrees, 75 degrees, and not that race. That race was hotter than like a summer day in Florida. And on top of it, to make things even worse, that was on Sunday. That was on Sunday, and then Monday, the low in Miami was like 45 degrees in the morning. The cold front came in the day after the marathon. It was so cold, even up in like Central Florida. And I was just so aggravated the whole week last week driving to work because I'm freezing on the way to work. And I was like, it couldn't have been this cold on Sunday. And I don't know. At the end of the day, like, I did it. We did it. Every runner out there, like, if you finish that marathon, you should be so proud because it was horrible because of the heat. And I don't know if I would sign up for the marathon necessarily again because like I didn't even get to enjoy the course that we were running through for the last half of the marathon because I was just so fixated on like how horrible I was feeling. I got a stomach cramp the last 3 miles. It was just an experience that I will never forget because it was my first marathon, and also it was just like absolutely insane. Like I felt like I was going through a war out there. Not necessarily, no, that's dramatic, but needless to say. So let's go over other things about the Miami Marathon. My t-shirt. This is the t-shirt that they gave us for this marathon. This is a women's medium, and let me tell you, it fits like a woman's extra small. So if you ever run the Lifetime marathon, like, and you're a girl, like, I'm relatively fit. Like, I felt like this was one of those shirts that like guys wear at the gym where they're 2 sizes too small and you're trying to show off your muscles. Like, I think that this is an extra small and it's an actual medium. So my advice is choose wisely if you ever run a Lifetime, because that's the brand that put this on, like Lifetime Fitness. If you ever run a Lifetime marathon, like maybe just get a unisex t-shirt and you'll be fine, because my friends got a unisex and they were fine. I just apparently was stupid. You guys saw my bib. This is the bib. This bib gives you your number, your name, which honestly was so fun during the race. Like, people are like, go Kelly, go Kelly. And sometimes I would forget that my name was on the bib. Like, who are these people cheering for me? How do they know me? No, just my name, but that was sweet. You get to choose like country that you're gonna celebrate or like run for, and then your corral that you go into the morning. This actually does matter. Like, there's people at the corrals checking like what color sticker you had and like wouldn't let people go in if it wasn't the color sticker. And then after you finish the race, they give you your medal. So this is my Miami Marathon medal. It spins, both things spin, pretty cool. And then on the back of it just kind of says like Miami 26.2, because you know that's how many miles you run in a marathon. But that course actually I think was, my Strava said 26.4, so a little bit longer. Trust me, I felt that extra 0.2. And it was funny though, the week of the marathon they sent out an email and was like, if you're traveling and flying for this marathon, beware, you might not be able to go through TSA with the medal, like you might have to check your bag. I was like, what does that mean? And then I got this thing and I was like, oh, that's understandable why TSA may not let people go through TSA with these little spinny spin spikes. So that's the medal they give you at the end. And I realized I didn't even tell you guys how fast I ran this marathon in. So I ran the Miami Marathon, my first marathon ever, that killed me, in 4 hours and 19 minutes. So I guess we'll just round out 4 hours and 20 minutes. So my goal, race day, like I was thinking like it's gonna be like a 4:05 marathon, and clearly that didn't happen. But I will say, like, with everything that went wrong, like I am proud that like it was such a bad day and such bad conditions that I only went 15 minutes slower. But it does excite me for the next race that I do, next marathon that I run, that maybe I can hit that 4:05 or even faster mark. I just like it. When the heat is that hot, like you can only be outside for so long without it actually like fighting you and killing you and crushing your soul. So how did I feel after the race? Well, if you watched the marathon vlog, that video of me finishing the race, like guys, I was obliterated. My soul was crushed. The same thing kind of happened after my Ironman. Like my Ironman, it hit more by the time I got home, but like I definitely was fighting some sort of like heat exhaustion because my body was cold, but my face was really hot and I was having hot and cold flashes. I felt nauseous. Like I didn't throw up, but like nothing was like, for a good hour and a half did I want to eat. Me and my friends did go for lunch, and by that time I felt a lot better and everything kind of just like, whew. But when we were walking back to the car, I was the last one to finish my friend group, so everybody else, you know, had time to kind of relax, and we were walking back to the car and I was like, my body and my soul and my like electrolytes were just so screwed off that it was another battle to get to the car. But again, thankful that my friends had the car parked. I didn't have to even worry about, like, I just had to follow the leader and get there, and I just had in my mind on like, I just gotta make it to the car. And then we spent the rest of the night at Anna's house just hanging out and recapping the race, and it was a really good way to enjoy like after the race and to have friends there who also went through that battle and be able to celebrate them. And a lot of first time like half marathoners were able to celebrate that day, so that was very exciting. My biggest advice for running the Miami Marathon, I don't know personally if I'll ever sign up for the Miami Marathon again. I think that if someone asked me, would you sign up for the Miami Half Marathon, I would be open to that, and I would probably do that again. I just like, I don't think it's worth risking like that bad of weather. Like it was the hottest marathon that on record for the Miami Marathon. Like we had the hottest race ever for the Miami Marathon. And I don't know if it's worth risking to go through that again. After you go, like race day, you're always gonna risk the weather, but like I just don't know, like in Florida, like let's say this marathon was in like Tennessee, like the risk for it to be like 91 degrees is so much lower than Florida. Like, So I don't know if it's worth like all the training to have unfortunate weather that like literally put it like the hottest marathon ever, and then the next day it'll be frigid Florida cold. So would I recommend the marathon? I think it was a good experience and I'm glad I did it. I just don't think I will be dying to run it again. Like the race itself, they did a great job like putting it on, and it was a pretty course. I just like that weather, just it crushed my soul. And I just don't know if I could confidently be like, this is the marathon like you really want to run. Like I personally, and I also don't have all these ties to Miami, so like I just can't really say that like I would be like, this is the first marathon people should run. So that's that. The Miami Fair Marathon, my first marathon, it's done, and you guys heard the recap for it. If you have any other questions about the race, or if you watch this video and you're considering running it, I think that's great. I'm not trying to discourage people from running the Miami Marathon at all. Like, all in all, like, it was a great experience. I'm just saying, like, proceed with caution about the heat. And comment down below if you have any other like comments or recommendations on marathons or that marathon or that race in general, or any races that you guys think that I should run next, because I'm on the lookout for potentially my next marathon or my next triathlon. So let me know what you guys think